All right, welcome back to the Pretty Awkward Entrepreneur Podcast. Today we have a very special guest on, Miss Kendall Strampel. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Megan. I'm excited to be here.
Did I say it right? Because I asked you before and then I'm like, did I just say that wrong?
All right, we got
Okay,
it.
good. Literally right before we record, I'm like, this is how you pronounce your last name. I say it correctly. And then I'm like second guessing myself. It's fine. It's very on brand for us. But Kendall is a wealth and business coach and a fitness coach. And I'm really excited to dive into that in itself. But Kendall and I met, gosh, it was 4 years ago now, almost to the date, which is mind blowing. It feels like another lifetime. And we actually roomed together in Miami. First time we ever met, rooming together. And I just immediately was like, I really like this girl. You felt like a little sister to me. And you were just so, and we'll dive into this, wise beyond your years. Like, you obviously looked young because you were young, but you just held yourself with such like poise and grace, and you're so smart and sharp. And I was like, this girl is already very successful, but going places. And here you are, and you have. So I'm just really, I feel so proud of you. Like, just seeing all the growth you've had and like knowing you 4 years ago and knowing you today, it's just really, really beautiful. So congrats. I just want to start with that.
Thank you so much. It's so funny. I remember, and this is actually something that just came up for me as you said that. I remember you pulling me in the house in Miami when we went to the mastermind, and you saying that to me and being like, I feel like you're like my little sister. And you were like, keep crushing it. Like, don't give up, keep going.
Yeah.
So
I
awesome.
love it. Yay. Okay. Amazing. So let's start, with the audience getting to know you a little bit. For anyone who's not familiar, just tell us a little bit about your business journey. I know your health journey is a huge part of that. And just like what got you here today.
Yeah, so I'll bring it back to 14-year-old Ken. I think that's where a lot of it started. So I started off playing sports, kind of like the cliche thing, in school, and I got into fitness. And unfortunately, I swung the pendulum too far one way. And honestly, social media had a lot to do with that. I was watching like fitness models, bodybuilders, competitors, have so much appreciation for the sport. I just let it get to my head to where I ended up developing an eating disorder. And so most of my high school years I spent very isolated, and going through that myself, I was like, okay, I know that as I'm recovering, as I'm growing out of this, as I'm being more resilient, I had a great like support system with my family. I knew that I wanted to do something with it, but I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be. And so, my parents didn't really want me going away to school. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stay at home, go to community college, and I'm going to try to do something with personal training. And while I was doing this, I was actually sharing my entire recovery journey of my eating disorder on social media. So by the time I graduated high school, I had like almost 100,000 followers.
Wow.
On Instagram. And which is pretty crazy for someone who's like 18 years old,
Yeah.
And I was getting like a few different like brand deals and things like that. And I was in my first year of community college, and I realized when I was in school, they'd actually put me on the liberal arts track, but I was in school for dietetics. So I was behind in my sciences, basically in my second semester. And they were like, hey, you're going to have to take a bunch of summer classes. And I was like, I do not want to do that because it was going to be history. And I ended up dropping out of college and getting a personal training job, and then just taking some online clients at the time, which I had no idea was a thing. I was charging like $60 a month for fitness coaching.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And like at 18, oh my
God. Yeah. You thought you were a baller.
Like rolling in it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, thought it was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, lo and behold, this is a short snippet of it, but I moved down to Florida and moved out of my environment to just really pursue things. I got a personal training job down in Florida. My sister lived there, so I moved in with her, and I told my parents, hey, I'll be back in the fall for the semester. And then my fitness coaching business took off, and I was like, peace out. I'm actually going to move to California instead.
Oh, I love it.
So my parents were like, you are crazy. But they let me do my thing. They were like, if you trust yourself, like, go do the thing. And I moved to Los Angeles, and I didn't really love it there. So I ended up moving down to San Diego, and that was about 6 years ago. And here I am in San Diego today. So I started my fitness coaching company, and then I'm sure we'll get into this, but that kind of snowballed into me eventually getting into business coaching, which is also what I do now. So.
And you, just to clarify, because I think when I met you 4 years ago, you were starting to branch into the business coaching, or were you still full-time in the fitness coaching?
Yeah. So it was like in Bucci's mastermind where I was like, oh my gosh, she's like, you need to do something with this side too. Cause people were asking me to business coach. And I was like, I was 20. So I was like 19, 20. And I was like, there's no way anybody's going to like believe me or, think I'm credible enough. And that's when people were asking me, I was like, okay, I'll take on a few people and just teach them to the point where I kind of need to charge for this because I don't really have the time to keep doing this, and that's what really spurred business coaching for me.
Yeah. That's probably such a common thought. And I've definitely coached some people who are in their early 20s. And that's always such a thought. Like especially if they get a life coaching certification or something, they're like, who's going to hire me? I haven't lived many years, and at the end of the day, you don't hire a life coach because of their life experience. You hire them to hold a space for you and a container for you yeah, sure. Their experience can be part of it, but also their knowledge and their tools and all of that. So I think that's such a common thing. And anyone who's listening now, who's maybe younger or just newer to the online space, whether you're 20 or 50, right? It's just, if you're new to the online space, it can be so intimidating, but you have to remember, like, you're here for a reason and you're feeling called to this. You're qualified to do it. As long as you have the experience or you have the certifications or you have that knowledge, you're always going to feel a little impostery. I think that never goes away, but I love that you brought that up because I think it's probably really common, especially for young people in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, the thing was for me is I had a really great first year in business and let's be like, if we're being real, is what, like 2017, 2018. So the fitness space wasn't as huge. There wasn't as much, competition and stuff back then. And I also was really growing in the influencer space as well. So I had developed, I basically went in blind. It was like, I just have to create systems for myself because I don't really know how to uphold. I mean, I had 100 clients on my own roster at one point for fitness coaching. And I was like, okay, I need systems for this. And that's where it really got started. It was less of imparting knowledge on more of like the business growth and development aspect. It was more of how do you build systems to sustain the fulfillment side. And that's what I really had a love for when I got started. And, it snowballed from there now. But, it's one of those things, like if you're 2 steps ahead of somebody, you can kind of teach them as you're learning too.
That's such a huge thing. And honestly, I think something for myself included that a lot of people don't have in place when they get big. Like, I implemented systems because I had to, and it was like, quote unquote, too late. It's never too late, obviously. But I was like, oh my gosh, I'm drowning. I don't know how to do this. And when you don't have any systems set up, it's like, so I think it's great that you realized, all right, before I dive deep into this other area, let's get this like structured. And that's something I talk about a lot, especially the last few years, is like pulling back to spring forward. Like, it's okay to take a step back and a quote unquote break if you're working behind the scenes, to then be like, all right, I'm here. I'm ready to take you on. I'm curious if you had any of that moment when you had that many clients.
Oh my gosh. I talk about this all the time. The whole quantum leap is like, I don't ask for one anymore, and I will never ask for one again because my business, my business essentially imploded in 2019 and then happened again in 2020. 21. So in 2019, I got to the point where I actually gave up my roster. I went and traveled the world for 3 months. I went to like Israel and Italy, and I basically said like, F it. And I was like, I'm just going to go find myself. I'm going to go live my life. I'm like 20 years old. I'm like making good money. I had like a 20 to 30 client roster and just traveled. And I honestly lost a lot of the sight of my vision because I was just so overwhelmed and I was just doing so much. And I was like, it's kind of one of those like, pros and cons type of thing with starting a business really young is I lost my teenage years. Like, I didn't have my early 20s like a normal person would, but I will tell you, I love my 20s. Like, I'm so grateful for the 20s I have now. Being 24 and being able to have a pretty free lifestyle. But, back then, like, I definitely have been through the whole implosion of having to pull back. And last year, actually 2022 was the year where we sat down as a company and we're like, we are so fine with completely pulling revenue. We had to consolidate our team, which sucks, by the way. And I basically was like, we're going to kind of rebuild in a way that's more ethical, in a way that's more fulfillment based, and in a way that allows for us to fill the vision in a way that I'm also not dying. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm glad you share that because that's something we talk about a lot here. I've remodeled a lot. I've got rid of a ton of stuff as well. And it's an ego thing. I'm curious if because that was really hard for me to be like, we're getting rid of a lot of money. And I identify as someone who makes a certain amount. And so now I'm like, that identity is being challenged. And I had to let that go and be like, this is not why you got into this, is to say you make a certain amount of money. You got into this to love your life, love your relationships. So I'm curious if you had that battle as well.
Yeah, this is a really good point. And this is really funny. If anyone who can resonate with this will understand is like, I'm really not money driven to a fault. like actually to a fault.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where even with like bottom line and like looking at those kind of things, I was almost negligent with it as well. So there got to be a point where for me personally, I kind of sat down and I thought the same thing where I ended up looking and I sat down with a financial planner and was like, oh, wow, like things are not as good as I think that they are really anyway, because I was negligent of it. And it was really tough to take the hit where I was like, man, it was more of a lifestyle thing where you get really acclimated to a lifestyle. And sometimes when you have a really big vision, like you have to, I personally do believe like at some point you might have to sacrifice. And for me, it was like downgrading my style of living. I ended up actually buying a place that had a really cheap mortgage, which I was really fortunate to do that year. So I didn't have to pay a bunch of money like out of pocket, like every month, because rent in California is not cute.
Yeah, very true.
So that was definitely a little bit tough, like downgrading the lifestyle that I had and things like that. But I think when you come back home, like to yourself, it's a whole different, it's like you shed the identity layer a little bit. And I needed the ego hit, to be honest. You do every time, right? So
yes, I love this conversation. I think it's so important. And it's something so many people I know, whether they tell the social media world or just behind the scenes, which no one is required to each his own, of course. But a lot of people have been experiencing that. And also just like, what is the goal for, right? It's great to have financial goals and all this stuff, but if it's at the price of like your health or your happiness or your relationships, like I'm with you, you're going to sacrifice some stuff totally. But those things, the reasons you did the business in the first place, like you don't need to do that for what, to make a little bit of more money, like would I rather make 50K a month or 150K a month and never see my family? Like how do we balance this out, so, and there's ways to do it all and have incredible balance. But I just love that, again, at such a young age, you realize that. And you were like, we got to scale back. Most people your age would have been like, let's spend all this money.
I love that you mentioned that, Megan, because the thing for me was I was actually really frugal in the beginning of my business, again, to a fault. And just to share like a quick backstory too, obviously money mindset's really important as a business owner. I think, and this goes kind of with the age thing, is my family pretty much lost everything when I was 14. Like my parents were flipping homes down in Florida. And the recession had hit not too long before, and my family got really, really affected by it. My dad lost his business. So I kind of watched my family lose a lot. And so I think that made me age very quickly. I got a job like right out of like in high school, and then also it kind of was, I think, a catalyst for entrepreneurship, because I was like, I want to always be in control of what I make my life out to be. So I think that with it too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's those experiences definitely shape how you are, of course. Yeah, money mindset. That's a whole other episode we could get into. Oh my gosh, there's so much there. But again, it's like at such a young age, it's pretty incredible. My husband played poker. I didn't know him at the time. Well, I knew him in high school, but we didn't talk at the time, but he was 2021 winning like a $40,000 poker tournament, got the money in one shot, and like spent it all on his friends and going out at the bar. So again, when I think of like your age, I'm like, man, most people will just get rid of that, and I just think it's a testament to how you grew up. Like you said, you kind of experienced that, oh my gosh, I have to save, which again, like you said too, eventually you realize, oh, it was actually a detriment. So it's such a balance, it's like, it's such a balance, all of it. But I'd love to, there's so many places we could go here. Like so many. I think the first thing, as we're on this topic, I would love to talk again about like your mindset and your resilience at such a young age, not only overcoming your eating disorder, sharing it publicly, first of all, that's like huge bravery in itself. But just like really treating your business like a business off the bat, like you got so serious. And I wonder, what do you think, someone who, whether they're, in their 20s or again, starting in their 50s, who knows, right? We have all different ages listening to this podcast. But in the beginning stages, how do you have that mindset of like, this is a real business, whether you have one client or 10 or 100 clients, like you are a business owner? If you could give any tips to that, because I think you adopted that so well.
Thank you. Yeah, this is such a big one. So there are a few different things I think for myself is I'm honestly really I'm pretty stoic And I always have been since I was really young. And I think it's on a lot of it was how I was kind of brought up and just kind of gaining independence at a really young age. But I think if that's not the case for you and you're someone listening to this and you're, or maybe just getting started, it's all in the vision. For me, it was always in the vision. And it's one of those things where I kind of sat with myself. I was like, okay, I know I'm destined to do something really big to support other people. And I also know I don't want women to sit in the same position I did. And that was enough for me to do whatever it took to, and, you know, some of it was kind of pain motivation. I didn't really want to stay living in Pennsylvania where my parents were. So it was kind of moving away from pain. And I think I had an even balance of move away from pain, but also seek the pleasure in the vision. And I think having a good balance of the two of those sometimes actually doesn't hurt. I know a lot of people are stay vision focused and stay focused on the vision, but sometimes, you know, you have to look at, you're pushing away from something, but you're also having an even pull towards something bigger. And
totally,
you know, people talk about vision a lot. And I think a lot of business owners just don't take it seriously. Like it's the first thing when clients even come into my program, and I'm sure maybe you get this too, or, you know, I talk to people in my audience or whatever, and I say, hey, you need to understand your vision. They're like, no, like I want sales strategy. I want strategy. I want like lead gen. I'm like, no, like vision first. And I can't say it enough, like drill it into your head. Take some time and sit down and ask yourself, what do I want for my vision? And what do I want to be able to serve other people? What's the solution that I offer? So I think I saw it as a challenge a little bit too. How can I do something new and different? I almost hated mentorship when I first got started because I was such an innovator that I was like, oh, I don't want someone to take my voice away. And that was like the story, which is really funny to think about. But like truly loving and becoming obsessed with entrepreneurship was the thing for me, is realizing, okay, cool, I can work and create whatever I want. And that's the cool part about it.
I love you linking back to the vision. This retreat I was at this weekend, that was like a huge thing they talked about is, we talked a lot about team and growing your team and saying how you have to have such a clear vision that your team buys into. Otherwise they're just going to feel like task rabbits and not like team members, you know? And I realized like, I've got to go back and actually like redo mine, which is funny. It was like, after all these years, shouldn't I know what it is? And I journaled on it. I looked, I was like, okay, I do know what it is, but it took a second. I was like, wow, this is something that, like you said, people want to skip right to those like fancy, sexy things, strategy. And it's like, if you don't know where you're going, none of those steps are going to help. You're going to burn out, you're going to fizzle out, all that kind of stuff. Or like you said, you're not going to be consistent. And you were so consistent because you had that very clear vision. And it also sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like when you have that clear vision, you don't let a low month, a no show for a sales call, all those inevitable things that happen get you down, right? Like you keep going because you see that vision.
Right. And I think I just made a post about this today. It's the failure is feedback. And that's a message for me that I think I embodied like so early on, because I kind of had that mindset. Maybe some people can resonate where I'm like, I don't lose. I do not lose. I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
You know, that was something for me where it's like, okay, how can I make myself better? But then it started to become, okay, how can I create more solutions and make my product better? And like I said earlier, I was so fulfillment focused and so product focused and so community focused that that's the best thing that you can do in your business is focus on your product and your people, because that helps with marketing, sales, and all those things. And so when you become solution driven, I think in that direction, especially, and you just see how you can continue improving, it's a catalyst for everything else that you do with the vision too.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's funny. When you focus so much on the service, I was just talking to a client about this morning. She's got a big launch coming up and she's really so excited about it, but was starting to get into the whole attachment to the number and the goals and the outcomes. And I'm like, all right, we got to really focus on the service, because if you get so excited about the outcome of the client and how this program is going to help them, how it's going to serve them, you will show up so much more fully. You'll make way more sales versus like, I got to hit 50 sales. I got to hit 100 sales. Like I got to hit this number. When we come from that, every time it falls short versus like, I'm just so freaking excited and almost naively so. I wish I could go back to like 2018 when I had no idea. And I was just like, I just love everything. And I'm like, man, I know too much now. But getting back to that service mentality, that's kind of what I hear you saying as well.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong too. I'm like a huge KPI like freak. I'm obsessed with KPIs and numbers and operations, and I could talk about SOPs all day.
I love
Well,
it.
I think the thing is like you have to have a good combination of both of them, because even people will sit and look at their KPIs and be like, well, I suck, or like, damn, I had an awful launch, or it's like, okay, well, what feedback is that? Okay, you didn't make sales, like was it in the lead quality, the content? Like there's so many other things that you can go
Totally.
from receiving that kind of feedback. So I think it's taking failure as more of a feedback than anything.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a great quote. And once you really, or phrase, I guess I should say, and once you really embody that, everything is feedback. And you're like, great, it doesn't relate. You don't feel bad. You're not like, this isn't me. This isn't me, Megan, or me, Kendall, like feeling like being a bad person because our launch didn't go well. It's that you separate yourself, which is literally the saving grace to having success in entrepreneurship and keeping going. Otherwise, you're going to take everything so personal. Which is exhausting. So one thing I love about your story is that, well, there's actually two things that come to mind. We'll start with this one though. But one thing I love about your story is you have two separate businesses, technically. I mean, it's all under the same umbrella, but two different routes. You have your fitness coaching business, and then you have your business coaching. And I've coached quite a few clients who've had two businesses like that at once, usually fitness and business, ironically. It's a very common natural progression. But a lot of them struggle with fully running both. And most, not everyone, but most of them ended up giving up one to pursue the other. So I'm curious, and this is a really general, big question, but how do you balance both? How do you feel like you can have your foot in both without being like too spread too thin?
The short answer, I love this question. The short answer is my team, 100%. Like my
Yeah.
team is phenomenal. I actually, I oscillated at one point. It was like, should I give it up and go all in for business coaching? And especially like we rebranded it was Elevate Coaching Academy. Now it's the Wealthy Women's Business Academy. So when we rebranded, I was like, okay, this is kind of my opportunity to see, do I go all in? And I will be fully transparent when I say I 100% know my company for wealth and business coaching would be further along if
Mm,
I had given up and I had put aside the fitness coaching company earlier on.
mm,
The thing is, they're so synergistic.
mm,
Now with us also rebranding our fitness coaching company, a lot of our business coaching students end up being fitness coaching clients.
mhm.
And we do a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, anyone listening to this probably knows too, but like we all want to be higher self, but sometimes health just gets put on the back burner a little bit. So,
Yep.
we really need it. And I think I kind of had to evaluate last year because that was really where it was like, okay, what am I going to do here? And I was like, can I take my hands almost completely out of fitness,
Mm,
redirect all my content, which I had built, a 300,000 follower page off of fitness content. I was like, we're just going to full send it on business coaching content, and can we still generate the leads? And my staff, my coaches, the way that we've structured the inside of the business has really allowed for us to be able to consistently still bring in amazing clients.
mhm.
Still be able for me to put, I would say like probably 85% of my attention into business coaching. And so I have a great operator on that side, a great head coach for fitness coaching, and that allows for me to, I do primarily, I will be super transparent. Like I spend most of my time business coaching.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure, trying to figure out having both.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
market on one? So you market on one Instagram specifically. I know you have like email and other stuff like that, but do you market only on one for both?
So this is the pretty crazy thing is I was primarily generating all the leads from my main page, which was kind of like more of my influencer page and my page that I was doing like brand deals and all that kind of stuff. And I pulled out of doing that like late 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And just started focusing more on myself and my personal brand. And then I actually have two coaching community pages, and that's where we do most of the content and lead generation that's specific to the businesses. So, and then on my page, we kind of do both, which is cool. They kind of coordinate together, which is really nice.
Oh,
So
I love that. Okay, cool. We just started a new Instagram earlier this year. That's the brand. It's the Pretty Awkward Entrepreneur. And we're like doing collabs now with it. But same, it was more to have like my page I'm still promoting, I'm still using it to educate, but a little bit more personal brand. And that being like pure education basically for business. And I'm liking it. Like I'm liking it's very slow growing. I'm like, okay, let's get some movement on over here. But I also haven't been like super prioritizing it, but there's just so much old content that we can repurpose over there. And I'm like, there's like years and years and years of stuff that's still so valuable and still so relevant. Let's just use it over there. And so for anyone wanting to do that, I've talked to a lot of people doing that, and it's nice to kind of have the separation too.
Yeah, I mean, and for us, YouTube has become a really big one for me. It's like a really
Awesome.
great, yeah, it's a great outlet. I used to use it for fitness. Now I'm using it primarily for business, and it's fun. Like I love YouTube. I just started back in August, like really doing more on YouTube. I love YouTube. I was like, oh my, it's like long form content. You can cut it.
And it's a search engine, which is like people are actually putting in, I want help with this. I'm curious, do you have any, I know this is like a very big general question as well, but do you have any kind of overarching system to be so omnipresent on many platforms? Sounds like YouTube, Instagram, podcast, and email. Anything else you're using right now?
TikTok also. So I'm not as big on TikTok, I will say. I feel like it's funny, like you say, being wise beyond my years. I do feel like sometimes I'm too old for TikTok. That's like my one limiting belief that I have around TikTok is like, I'm too old for this. I don't get it.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
But,
you're not.
It's just, I get on there, I'm like, whew, it's funny. It's a fun platform though. But I actually have a huge like content repurposing strategy. So
Nice.
I always tell people this, like I have a media team. I have someone who comes to my place every other week. We film content. And then I also have a social media manager. And so we're basically doing editorials. And the biggest thing I tell people, I'm sure you're big on this too, is like I plan out my strat as far as we can, like quarters ahead with at least big strategy. And we're pulling in a lot of like day-to-day real-time stories. So a lot of people are surprised when I say this. I only plan like 3 posts per week. The rest is really on the fly because I really hate being conformed to only having like, oh, these are the 5 posts we have to put up this week. But I'm like, hey, this happened today and I want to go talk about it, So, we do like 3 posts per business, 1 YouTube video a week. And then we're usually repurposing a lot of that with honestly AI software, to email and
nice. Amazing. I love it. There's so many tools at our fingertips. And I just learned a lot about AI this weekend at this retreat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's very overwhelming, but very exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely a little nerve-wracking, but
all the feels, but I'm like, I know there's a way to do it ethically and there's a way to utilize it to our advantage. And it's just the biggest thing I've been hearing with that, not to go down a rabbit hole with AI, but it's like people are so nervous it's going to replace them. And I'm like, if you're a coach, especially, you can't replace mentorship. No robot's going to replace you. I promise.
Like the accountability piece that has the human experience behind it too.
Exactly. And it's kind of like, I was just talking to my mastermind friends about this. YouTube and Google have been around for how long? And you could literally go piece together a course on like how to build a funnel. You don't need to go buy a course or hire a mentor to help you do that. You could actually Google that and figure it out, but you don't.
Yep.
For what reason? It's like, it's not going to replace it in that same way, because even though it might be easier, it's still the human condition. Like if we don't have any skin in the game, sometimes we won't do anything. And just the energy of trying to piece everything together. It's like, that's why you buy stuff in the step-by-step. It just makes it so much easier.
Well, it's the accountability piece too, so.
Totally. Huge part. Yeah. So one thing I want to like kind of wrap up with is you said something that I think is super valuable. And it's probably, I don't know if it went over people's heads because it's a huge number, but you built your following before you started selling, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
And I find, and not that you have to do it this way, but I find like one of 2 ways. And I've actually coached 2 different types of people. And it's been really interesting to see this, but there's those people who know what they want to do. And they're like, I have a skill. It's either offline or I just have the skill that I want to bring online. And I got to go find my person. I got to go find the people. I got to create the offer and I want to sell and just bring those people in, versus someone who's like, I know what I want, but I want to go build the community first and almost let them kind of build the program for me. And that obviously takes a little longer to see income because it's going to take a while. But then I see this flip. It's like slow and steady. And then man, they take off because they've built the need and they've built the community and the trust. So I'm curious how you coach your clients, like what you recommend, like thinking about your journey. And I know it was a different world back then and a little easier to grow probably, but yeah, I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
This is a really good question. I get this question all the time too, even from students, because I coach women, and I'm sure maybe you even get this too. Like I coach women who are like fitness influencers who like mainly do brand deals and those kind of things. And they have huge followings and they come in and like nothing, like no system, no program, like nothing.
Yeah.
And then also we have women who come in that have like 2,000 followers, but they're also already making 20K months in their business, or, you know, they're just starting from the ground up. And like, to be honest, my highest income earners are the women who have smaller followings, which is pretty insane to think about. And it blows me away sometimes too, because I look at when I got started, and I say this to them, like, I felt like I had the upper hand having such a big community. And it's amazing to see people who have smaller followings, how much they crush it online nowadays. And honestly, like the following and the presence is so important. And I tell people this all the time. I kind of have a dead account. Like right now, it's kind of dead with making my pivot compared to what I'm used to. I mean, I was getting like 30,000 likes a reel last year versus now I'm averaging maybe like 1,000, you know, which engagement is engagement, right? It's more about
same. I'm like, oh gosh, this is painful.
Like, you know what, as long as we are bringing in clients and we're serving those people, like that's the main thing for me. I think that's I've been doing social media since literally I was like 12 really, but then really got into it when I was like 14, 15. So, you know, it's one of those things that I just tell people, when you come in with that approach and you already have the community, I do think it is important to have some systems in place and at least to have a customer journey. It doesn't have to be fully mapped out, but I think when you have a customer journey, you can bring in someone who's a lot more ideal, and you can also show them that, hey, this is a process that's not going to just happen overnight. Because I find that in our coaching space nowadays, the thing that people struggle with the most is boundary setting, and not even boundary setting, but it's just like understanding the intention behind the container. And so I find a lot of influencers, if they have big followings, they'll just bring in a lot of people who aren't really qualified to be coaching with them. Or we'll go a subscription route or change the business model a little bit, you know, make it a little bit different. So I say with influencer, or if someone has a big community, that helps a ton. On the other end, it's kind of like the, you know, easy to sell, hard to fulfill. I actually really like when people come in and they bring clients in and build the offer with them. Yeah, I actually have found a lot of success with that, especially if people understand like who their ideal client is, really like what their skill, what their craft is, who they want to work with. And those are primarily the kind of women I work with, usually are like people who already know their ideal client. They already have the skill set and they already have the vision in place. We're just expanding on it really. So yeah, I would say those are kind of like the two different scenarios that I usually look at.
I love it. Yeah. And it's just like you said, there's, you know, you can have success with either. You can have success with either, but I'm not like I was planning for your answer, but I love your answer because I see it all the time. I just need more followers. I just need more followers. I'm like, not necessarily. And especially when you're talking engagement, my engagement was way higher when I had 10,000 less followers, and it hasn't affected necessarily the increase or the income, but my message was getting out there more when I had less followers. I was actually reaching more of the right people. So especially with the virality of Instagram or TikTok, you can have something go viral that's not actually related to what you do. That's what happened to me. And I was like, shit, this is cool. Great. Those numbers are nice, but they're not necessarily my people to buy my products, you know? And so I love that you said that, because I think there's so much power in that. I just had a freebie come out, and I used these two clients in particular. Both had under 2,000 followers. One has a 7-figure business and the other hit $500,000 in a year with less than 2,000 followers and primarily selling on Instagram. I'm like, if that's not the proof right there, like what is, you know, it's just wild.
Yeah. I think the following is nowadays, it's really the attraction strategy. And I'll be honest, I almost prefer when people come in with a little bit smaller and we do more long-term nurture, because long-term nurture nowadays, especially I'm finding in our market, and just, I mean, it's kind of my philosophy. I know everyone has a different philosophy on sales and sales processes, but I love the nurture game. Like, you know, you want a client to come in and be like, soulmate client. That's like my thought process. So
yeah. I'm with you. It's so like, we've both had a lot of experience in this field and have worked with not ideal clients and ideal clients. And it's a world of difference. Let's just say that, you know, and of course, in the beginning, I think you're going to inevitably work with people that aren't ideal, because you got to figure out who is. That's just kind of, you know, a rite of passage, if you will. But once you know, it's like, it's so worth it to have that journey and be patient and build that trust. You know, people are trying to rush things so much and like, why am I not successful yet? And it's like, you just got started. You got to give it some time.
I just had this conversation earlier today. Is like, one of my friends was saying it's almost like a race to the bottom. when
Mm.
we're constantly filling ourselves with anxiety because we feel like we have to be there tomorrow. And it's like those who are in it for the long haul are mentally doing a lot better, and also in their business, growing in a way that's steady and healthy. So
Yeah. And I honestly, again, I give you kudos for basically stripping it all away, going like, I have so much success and I'm saying bye to it. I know what that's like and it's terrifying. And I mean, from the talk we had before, we both seem to be in a really good place, like happiness wise, health wise, relationship wise. I've been creeping on your page a little bit about that, and it looks really great. And it's like, man, that's what matters at the end of the day, and when you really put those things first, the other stuff starts to come, because it's like, your priorities are in check. So
yeah, and energetically too,
totally. I love it. Well, we could talk for hours. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm so happy you came on. Where can everyone go find you? I know you also have a podcast, right?
Yeah, so I'll just direct you guys over to my main page because I have all my other links and shenanigans over there. But you guys can just type in my name, Kendall Strampel. I'm sure it'll be somewhere in the podcast here.
Yes, we'll put it in the show notes.
Cool. And then, I also have a podcast too. It's called the Strive for Strength podcast.
I love it. I love that name. And do you guys do both health and kind of business content over there?
Yeah, so it's mainly a lot of like wealth consciousness and business and mindset. So
Great.
Mainly mindset and business.
Okay, great. Well, we'll link that, and as well as your Instagram below, so they can find all the links. Thank you so much, Kendall, for being here. It was just great to catch up with you and just see your beautiful face. And when I'm in San Diego next, I will definitely be letting you know, so we can meet up. But thank you so much for being here. This is great.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone. See you on the next one.